Welcome to another day in the Matrix, and here we are yet another couple of weeks of the crypto roller coaster ride, but we finally made it to a crucial date, the February full moon, which was a bullish pivot point for the crypto market in our last cycle in 2021 and 2017 and even 2013, which are all 4 years apart. And since we're here in 2025, 4 years after our 2021 cycle, we should be mimicking the energy that kicked in for the crypto market, just like it has in all of our past cycles starting today. So that's what we're going to focus on in today's video. Now let's jump straight into it. And if you're new here at Waters Above, we're empowering you to unlock your infinite potential with esoteric investing by combining Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology with technical analysis to understand these markets and become a more profitable investor. Now let's take the clear pill, starting with an analysis of our previous full moon, which marked the pivot low. And this was something that I warned about on this channel in a video that I released a week before it happened in early January. Perhaps some of you remember that. And so far, this bounce that we're getting today on the full moon of February also seems to be the pivot low. And just a quick recap for those that are new to the channel, Bitcoin tends to move up from a full moon trading into a new moon, and then it tends to move down from a new moon trading into a full moon, which has been playing out perfectly since the start of this new year here in 2025, with the January full moon being our pivot low for the month, and then moving up into the following new moon, marking the highs, and then correcting back down here into February on the exact day of the full moon. And it seems that all this selling pressure that we've gotten since the recent liquidation event is now exhausted. So what should we anticipate next? A recovery into the upcoming new moon, which will be on February 28th. Could see the date right over here. Now, this is very important to keep in mind because when we go back to our last February new moon in the year of 2024, you're going to see that when we get to that exact time frame of the year, we actually pushed up higher than that particular new moon. And that's a good thing to keep in mind. The fact that we extended bullish through that new moon for about an additional week before stalling out for the week of the following full moon. And note, we went even higher into the month of March. So keep that in mind. Then we go back to our last cycle in 2021. We're going to see that we actually had something similar happen where this is our February new moon and we pushed up bullish through it and also had a textbook correction into the following full moon before pushing higher into March. Then we have the cycle before this one on February 26th of 2017. You'll see that we had a similar effect where we have the February new moon and we pushed up bullish through it before a very dramatic correction. Note, we technically did go higher into the month of March before this correction, and this was about a 33% correction, and the previous example I just showed you was about a 25% correction. All three examples showing you Bitcoin trading through this specific new moon in February, bullish, pushing higher into the month of March. And last year, we know that March actually marked our local top right over here. And that came in right around that new moon in March. Kind of fascinating that this happened. The fact that we pushed bullish through this, stalled out a little bit, and then marked our top for the month of March before a 8-month consolidation phase, which many of you probably remember. And the total correction when we take from the March highs down to the swing lows in August was also about 33%. So we have sufficient data here to consider the next couple of weeks can be when Bitcoin attempts to either retest its current resistance, which is around 106K, or of course, what we would like to see most would be Bitcoin breaking out into price discovery and then eventually seeing a breakdown in Bitcoin dominance and having that liquidity from Bitcoin spill into the altcoins. I believe that's what most people want here, including myself. And the expected time frame for this whole move to be complete would be within this year of 2025 to give a more vague outlook and to provide a more dialed in and esoteric answer, which is the reason why you all come here, would be around the August new moon this year, which is August 23rd. The reason for that is because we have a lot of data showing that these lunar eclipses are very powerful, specifically when we're in a lunar cycle, and we'll be moving into a lunar cycle just next month. So we would likely have another major correction for specifically Bitcoin and the crypto market before this particular time frame that I mentioned, the August new moon. And if I had to dial that in, it would be after the upcoming total lunar eclipse on March 13th through 14th, after, and then likely actually after this 7th into 8th September total lunar eclipse. So those would be the two time frames where I'm anticipating crazy moves for the market as a whole. Actually, it's just, of course, if we see major moves in the traditional markets, it's definitely going to impact the crypto market quite a bit more, right? We're used to that here. Now, depending on the depth of the move that we get in specifically the month of March, which we're trading into in about 2 weeks or so, determines the scenarios I see playing out for this crypto market. For instance, if Bitcoin was to have a full 30% correction that was completed within the month of March, like what happened in 2017, for example, then I believe Bitcoin will be bought back up instantly, especially if we were to fill the CME gap that's below in that upper 70K zone. So what we're talking about is this chart right over here, which everyone knows about. It's become quite popular. And then I'd anticipate a recovery and continuation into price discovery later this year into the month of August, as mentioned moments ago. And for those that are brand new to my channel, this should not be, something that you hear too often. It's very rare to have this awareness about the eclipses, but for those that have been here for a while, you have heard me talk about this idea of a double peak cycle. It's actually a theory that I shared back in June of last year in something that I created all throughout the months of April and May, and it was called my Crypto Decoding Blueprint. It's available at watersabove.com. And in this Crypto Decoding Blueprint, I share how I see this whole year going. And I shared that all the way back in June. I was revealing my information for late 2025, specifically around the month of August leading into September. So this is not news to those that have been following for a while, but for those that are brand new here, I could definitely sense that this is something that has a little bit of a learning curve. Just bear with us here. Effectively, what's going on is we're moving into a lunar cycle in this overall market next month. And that is typically when we start bear markets. So whatever we're doing in the short term, it's kind of the most explosive phase. And when I say short term, of course, I'm speaking in 6-8 month intervals. I'm not talking about 6 or 8 year time frames, right? We all are learning here. We're all at different levels. Some people are brand new to crypto. They just got in because of, the Trump coin that was released last month. And some people are veterans. They've been here since 2016, 2015, etc. So everyone's kind of in a different place in this market, obviously. So I'm speaking to those that are just coming here and they're like, what is he talking about with March? And just have this sense of awareness that March is very much one of the most important months in the calendar for major events. And we all know how March of 2020 went, the C-19 pandemic. So don't disregard this upcoming month, and please pay attention to everything that we're talking about in today's video leading up to that time frame. It's very, very important. So we're, of course, expecting pullbacks. That's a big part of being in crypto. We have major upside moves, and then we have major downside moves. That's just the nature of the market. It's pretty much about how to time getting out most of it and being in profits before we see even deeper corrections into bear markets, which, at this point, we're used to seeing altcoins lose 90 to 95% of all of their value, right? Now, one other scenario that I wanted to bring up, something everyone could consider here, is that if Bitcoin was to recover from where it's at right now, and it was to push higher into the first week of March before the lunar eclipse on March 14th, which would be really, really solid timing, and especially if it was to hit a new all-time high, so trading above 110K, perhaps even getting into 115K, which I know would be wild to see that happen so soon, but just bear with me here. Imagine that scenario was to play out. then not only would I expect a deeper correction to follow, but I'd also consider preparing to de-risk my portfolio depending how this plays out and what this move does to the altcoins, because the odds are we'd have another boring sideways market like we had last year. And as I've shown in prior videos here on this channel, during 2013 when Bitcoin was topping in the month of April, we then proceeded to trade sideways for 200 days. My charts are taking a little bit of time to load here, but we all can go back in the Bitcoin chart and we could see this for ourselves. This 200-day boring sideways phase, and I'm talking about this right here. So there you go, until we finished off the cycle. Then we also have last year, even when Bitcoin topped in the month of March, we can see from the March top to about the time of recovery, a little over the 200-day mark, heading into 240 days before continuing into price discovery. These are very boring sideways phases, and a lot of people are not ready to enter them. Well, we had the same thing happen in 2023, where we started to get pretty toppy in the month of March, April, and then effectively this horizontal trading range started in February, because you could see we were back testing it all throughout June, all throughout September, confirming it as a support, which was very bullish, by the way. But this whole time frame took over 200 days. So this is why I'm sending out this warning to everyone, especially for those that have been in this market for a while, is we could be moving into another one of those 200-day sideways phases. And in our crypto market bull run for the last cycle in 2021, we actually did have something similar to this play out too, between the peak that came in March when we got all this buying pressure exhausted, over to the recovery. It was about 200 days. So this is key to keep in mind, hence why I'm cautious about this upcoming March eclipse, specifically because of the timing and the fact that we also have Mercury station retrograde literally the day after this eclipse on March 15th. And typically Bitcoin chops sideways during Mercury retrograde. Bitcoin is also known to fall into Mercury retrograde, so keep that in mind as well. So the ideal turn of events would be having Bitcoin push up higher from here, obviously, breaking above the 103K level. And that's definitely a resistance right now to keep in mind. And we've seen since this bigger drop, we've even been struggling to get back above 100K. All right. So we would love to see Bitcoin get back above 100K, of course, just to get above that clean psychological level. But the technical level to start getting back above would be around 103. That's only about 5% away from where we are now. And if we can close a weekly candle above this specific level of 103K, then we should have one final push up before eclipse season in March. And obviously, if this was able to go up even a little bit more between now and our upcoming weekly close, so if we were to conclude this move up above 103K for this upcoming February 16th, trading into February 17th, then that would be very ideal for the timing of everything we just reviewed, comparing previous cycles. Now in the short term, I want you to keep your eye on the technical level right here. I'm going to turn off all of the noise, and I'm just going to put on a moving average, make everything nice and easy for you to see what's happening here, turn off the moon phases. And we have just one moving average on the screen. It's the 55 SMA. Bitcoin needs to recover back above this moving average ASAP. And if we can get this confirmation followed by the 8 simple moving average crossing above the 55 simple moving average, which now it is below, that cross, I call it the wolf cross, that would be a signal to anticipate a retest of 103K for Bitcoin. So that's all we need right now. Pop above this 55, see the 8 cross back above the 55 simple on the daily chart, and then we're likely to push into 103K very soon. Now, to be 100% honest with you, in the short term, Bitcoin closes a weekly candle. If Bitcoin is to close a weekly candle below 93.5K, it's a big warning signal. That level needs to hold, and if Bitcoin's going to relax here at this 96 to 98K level through the rest of this week, it'd be ideal for us to get back above the weekly chart 8 SMA, which right now we're seemingly at resistance to. So getting above that level is key. And lastly, regarding the overall crypto market, with the recent liquidation ritual, we just had a couple like basically a week ago from today, I believe that this was a complete sentiment reset. where we went from greed into fear pretty much overnight. And it's obvious the exoteric theory that a lot of people had of the Trump pump was an absolute trap. And now that we've had Trump's meme coin down 80% since his inauguration on the same day that we had the all-time high for Bitcoin, and since we've had the biggest single-day liquidation event in crypto history, with the overall sentiment in this market doing a 360 in just 48 hours, this actually makes me more bullish on the crypto market. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, and I don't believe that I'm gonna look back at this moment and, like say, oh, when everyone's getting fearful and everyone's scared, that should be when I also get fearful. It's always the opposite, right? When others are fearful, get greedy. And I feel that there's zero greed in this market right now because of some recent events that have unfolded. But it also doesn't mean that I'm naive. I have to look at the charts and take everything at face value for what it is. You can't be ignorant to the facts that are happening in these charts. And we still have a ways to go before full-blown blockchain adoption. And Trump's meme coin was obviously part of that scheme in some way. And the thing that happened with Hawk Tuah coin was the same. It's to get completely normal people who have no investing experience involving this sector at all, and to scare the living daylights out of them. And then the same people who created the grift walk away with millions, and in Trump's case, billions. And sure, some people made money on that thing, and clearly not Trump's actual supporters, who probably still don't even know how to sell the coin that they bought. So it's obvious we're in an attention market. We're not in a utility market. And most new retail investors that just jumped in since Trump won the election last November and then doubled down since his inauguration are likely feeling very confused right now. But the veterans who've been in this space for some time, especially expecting this outcome, which I'm sure many of you did, when something becomes too sensationalized, you know to pivot the opposite way. Now that we've had a couple weeks of tariffs being the talk of the town, I expect there to be some relief into March, and then likely another event will occur that'll include Trump, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was in the months of March and April, and we could have talks of the USA preparing to get seriously involved in this ongoing war. And that'll be one of our major Year of the Snake events tied to Israel. And the reason I've been expecting this is because Israel's Independence Day lands on the Gregorian date of May 1st this year, which is the Bavarian Illuminati date. And what year were they formed? 1776, the same year of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in the USA, which ties to the city of Philadelphia, the nation's first capital, which was also the nation's capital during the year 1776 before it moved into Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So there's your Philadelphia Eagles connection, and who just won the Super Bowl. So what year did the Eagles win their first Super Bowl ever? It was during Trump's first year as a president. Now here he is serving non-consecutive terms, and the Eagles win their second Super Bowl ever after their loss against the Chiefs during Biden's administration, whom Trump lost to in the 2020 selection. It's a perfect script. And if you are interested in me decoding the symbolism of this recent Super Bowl and how it's tied into the rest of this year of 2025, the Year of the Snake, I'll be sharing a mind-blowing presentation this Sunday in my new Red Pill podcast, which is available for Patreon supporters of our Mastermind community membership. And by joining that membership, you'll not only be getting access to this new decode I plan to release on Sunday, but you'll also unlock a full library of 200 podcasts plus 150 live streams with over 400 exclusive behind-the-scenes posts, as well as access to our private Discord community where you could come hang out with other like-minded, conscious investors who are working together to thrive in this matrix. And you'll get all of that for under 30 cents a day if you join our annual membership. So if you're interested in joining our Mastermind community, you can find the link in the description box of this video or in the pinned comment below. You'll be brought over to patreon.com/watersabove, and you can watch my most recent Red Pill podcast I just released and also hang out with our community in our Discord in the meantime. And I'll have my next Red Pill released for this Year of the Snake Super Bowl decode this Sunday, February 16th. I'm really looking forward to getting that out there. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's wrap up today's video with a quick check-in on XRP, since you have an idea of the general direction of how I see this market unfolding over the next couple weeks for Bitcoin. Naturally, that's going to affect the XRP chart as well. So we've had this failed breakout into the $3 territory, and since returning back into the middle of our previous horizontal trading range between 230 and 250 level. Now getting resistance on that 250 level the same way Bitcoin's getting resistance at this 98K level. And so far there's been no break of structure for XRP, so that's a very good sign. And based on how dramatic this washout over here was on February 2nd into February 3rd and how sharp the buyback was since then, this is a clear sign of absorption and that we've gotten liquidations in both directions, again following a sentiment reset. Now what we want to see for XRP is of course pushing back into the $3 range, specifically closing a daily candle above 305 would be ideal, but at least getting back above the December 2nd daily close, which is around $2.72, that would suffice for a retest of the highs in the range to follow, which is right over here in the lower $3 zone. And I do very much anticipate another impulsive move to the upside for XRP before taking out the lows in this current structure. And on the lower end, that would be somewhere shy of $5, around 440 to 460, give or take. And if we were to get an exaggerated move, that would push XRP into around the $7 territory, with 580 to 680 likely being the zone where we start to see some dramatic chop. I'm talking about $1 moves in the course of a couple, candles. Very, very wild price action if we could push past that level. And this move would likely be completed by very early April if we were to see the spillover from Bitcoin dominance into the altcoins. Because typically the way this works is around 2 to 3 weeks after Bitcoin tops out is when you start to see altcoins peaking. But of course, we'll need to check in with Bitcoin dominance as this move progresses to make that call. And all in all, we should be getting another move higher for XRP to concretely break the prior all-time highs and finally trade into $4 for the first time ever, which of course would be a huge milestone for XRP. Although if we are to see this happen, it has to be sooner than later, because the closer we get to this lunar eclipse in March, which is about a month from today, the more sketchy this market gets. So like I said in my recent update post for our Mastermind community over on Patreon, I said this plane needs to pull up soon. And it really all comes down to Bitcoin. Whether you like to hear that or not, it is what it is. It's the energy of this market. So for those of you like myself that have been invested in XRP since it was 30 cents or maybe even the 20-cent range, and you've made it all the way here to a 240, 250 XRP, and you still haven't de-risked your portfolio or taken any profits, well, would you be mad at yourself if we get hit with a black swan event and it puts this bull run on pause for another 6 to 8 months? Or are you one of those people that you absolutely need that money right now? Well, you got to do what's best for you. And if you think this year has started out crazy, well, you haven't seen nothing yet. This is just the beginning. It's only going to get wilder from here. The year of the snake is no joke. It's known to have some crazy volatility, and it's also a year where we've had some life-changing, or I should say life-altering market crashes, such as 2001 with the 9/11 ritual, and you all know about the Great Depression kicking in the year of 1929. Well, 1929 was the year of the snake, just like we're in now. And I'm not saying we're moving into a Great Depression 2.0, at least not just yet. I think that'll be probably more noticeable for 2027 to 2029 in preparation for the elite grand plan of Agenda 2030, but we'll save that for another video. In the meantime, stay alert, stay cautious, especially if you're new to these markets and you're already in profit. There's nothing wrong with taking some chips out of the gambling casino after you've won a couple rounds. And if we push up into the end of this month, which I am anticipating, then you definitely need to take this warning seriously, as most of my supporters here are either in Bitcoin or XRP, XLM, HBAR. You're likely in profits on these, and the worst time to get greedy is when we're in this type of economic environment. When any day we could wake up and some random event could happen to then be blamed on and then push this market down dramatically. And for those that are long-term holders and are planning to continue to be long-term holders, then you're the ones that are preparing to buy whatever dip comes your way. I salute you, and your patience will be rewarded just like it's been rewarded over the past 3 to 4 months, especially if you're an XRP or XLM or HBAR. So enjoy this ride, family, and I'll be catching some of you this Sunday over at patreon.com/watersabove for the new Red Pill podcast, Decode, dedicated to this year of the snake, breaking down the Super Bowl 59 symbolism for our mastermind community. And I'm wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.